Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
Today we are covering the Moon Tarot card in the season of Pisces.
Our first Pisces episode.
Yeah, we've got our notes all prepared here, listeners, but I don't know. Nicole, do you want to do the forecast for Pisces first, or do you want to wait?
I can go through it. It's a little long.
Let's have it.
Okay, so this episode is coming out on February 19th. The day before, the 18th, the sun enters Pisces. February 20th, in case I haven't talked about it enough, Saturn is conjoining Neptune at 0 degrees and 44 minutes of Aries. This is the first degree of the entire zodiac. And I was telling Christina the other day that this conjunction, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, is what Pam Gregory calls making real the dream. February 25th is the beginning of Mercury's retrograde in the sign of Pisces. On March 2nd, Mars will enter Pisces. And the next day on March 3rd, we have the full worm moon and total lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo. March 6th, Venus enters Aries. March 10th, one of our outer planets, Jupiter, will begin moving direct in the sign of Cancer. It will stay in the sign of Cancer until June before moving on to Leo. March 8th, we have our new moon in Pisces. And the next day, on the 19th, we are going to have the third and final Chiron and Eris conjunction. Yeah.
Okay.
The first two conjunctions were in 2025 on May 26th and October 8th. This is known as the goddess of discord and disruption. Her significations include non-conforming, truth-telling, and feminine rage. When Eris is conjoined with Chiron, the wounded healer, there is the potential for potent, deep, and rare healing, according to astrologer Rick Levine.
Wow.
I know. There's a lot of positive astrological events coming up. And then finally, on March 20th, the sun leaves Pisces, moves into Aries on the spring equinox, and Mercury also on this day moves direct in Pisces. One more little astrological tidbit. Our north node is currently in the sign of Pisces.
Oh.
The nodes stay in the same zodiac sign for 18 months. They're mathematical points of opposition on the ecliptic plane where the sun and the moon meet along their orbital paths. The nodes move backwards through the zodiac sign, and because the north node is in Pisces, the south node is in Virgo. The North Node represents the energy that's guiding us along our path and our growth. And the nodes are often said to be connected to the idea of karma or even past lives. So with the North Node in Pisces, we are being invited to embrace spirituality and surrender and divine flow. And at the same time, with the South Node in Virgo, we're being asked to leave behind perfectionism, micromanaging, especially ourselves, and giving ourselves like linear time deadlines. And the themes of the Pisces North Node, very, very similar to the tarot card we're talking about today, the moon. Mysticism, fantasy, heart-centeredness, empathy, compassion, intuitive and psychic abilities, meditation, prayer, mantras, flow states, divine timings, the deep subconscious, metaphysics, integration, spirituality, and deep inner connection. The shadow of the North Node in Pisces could be things like absurdity, especially in the media, deception, addiction, victimhood, and feeling overwhelmed. I think I can think of a couple examples of some of those. So until the nodes shift, stay grounded, have boundaries, take care of your body, be discerning, surrender, and be like water. That was the name of our Pisces episode from season 1.
Yes.
And that has been your Piscean astrology forecast.
Yeah. We are in the last zodiac sign of the year. Oh, okay, we're talking about the moon tarot card. It's called the moon. And the reason why we say moon in English, the etymology, not entomology, that's the study of bugs. Etymology is it's Old English for Mona, which comes from Proto-German menon, derived from Proto-Indo-European meh, to measure, as in measuring the months. That's why we have the moon starting with an M, with that coming from that dialect, when in Latin it's luna. All the Latin-based languages all have variations of luna, luna, loon, but that's why we have moon. And in the Greek, it's Selene. Sometimes that pops up on like a tarot card article or something, because Selene means moon. The card number is 18, XVIII. 18. The element is water. If you're using your tarot cards for a yes or no question and you draw the moon, it's not yes, but it's also not no. It's maybe. Not yet. The zodiac sign for this card is Pisces. Be like water. From our Piscean episode last year, some notes I pulled forward were unites all previous experience to embrace the whole of life and complete the circle, because we are at the end of the zodiac year. It's a water element. It's about emotions and intuition and thinking, because we are combining all the things that we have compiled, all the things we have learned and experienced and felt. It represents the end of the soul's journey into wholeness, where seeds are planted for the next cycle. It's the collective unconscious, the openness to life. And, in the Pisces glyph, there's two fish swimming in opposite directions, connected by a line or a string. And it's the spiritual fish and the rational fish. And they're going in opposite directions, but they're connected. You can even see the Piscean glyph almost like two towers with the connection in between. And we're going to talk about those towers, right? When we get into the symbolism in our tarot cards. But the fish are opposites, but they're connected, just like ourselves, just like our beings. Nicole covered the season already, the 19th of February to the 20th of March. It's a mutable water. It's the ending of the season, and we're bridging one season into the next. It's the end of year, wrapping up the undone. And it's sometimes the deepest, darkest parts of winter, depending on where you live in the world. But the energy is building because the days are getting longer. Even you might be getting your worst ice or your worst snow during this time of year. Energy is still building towards the growing season, towards the new agricultural year. The planet is Pisces, Neptune. The house is the 12th house, the house of sacrifice, the mantra, I believe. For correspondences, the Hebrew letter is Kof. This can be spelled Qoph or Kuf. Kof is the 19th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. with a numerical value of 100. It signifies holiness and behind, back of the head. This is the only letter that descends below the line as you're writing. And that symbolizes the divinity reaching down to humanity. For our metaphysical study and for our metaphysical symbol is the back of the head, and the metaphysical meaning hidden problems or hidden. The tree of life, this is the 19th pathway between the 10th sphere of Malkuth, which is ruled by Earth, and its kingdom, the physical world, that's Malkuth, and the 7th sphere of Netzach, and that's ruled by Venus for victory, endurance, and instinct. So the physical world connected to instinct. For the chakra correspondence for the Moon Tarot card, my book has the third eye, Anja, for intuition. I feel a very deep calling to the sacral chakra for this card, Svadhisthana. It's the second primary energy center. It's located in the lower abdomen and the pelvis. It's associated with the color orange, the water, closely associated with the water element and the sense of taste. And there's a crescent moon in the chakra's yantra, which is the drawing to represent the chakra. And it governs creativity and passion and pleasure and highlight emotional intelligence. That's your sacral chakra. Correspondences with the crystals. My book has amethyst, which works great for the qualities of amethyst. Lapis lazuli, with the focus on like learning and wisdom and knowledge. I always kind of associated lapis lazuli with like book learning, and like if I'm trying to learn a new skill or I'm in a course or I'm trying to understand something, but that's my point of view. But if you have it with the focus on your internal learning and your internal wisdom, you might think lapis lazuli is the stone to go to. Also moonstone, when we're talking about the moon or any of the watery zodiac signs or any of the watery cards, and moonstone just is the stone closely associated with all the moon's energy. Intuition, emotional healing, assists you in accessing depths of subconsciousness. When I look at my personal collection, what I'm drawn to are my seashells. I have abalone. Is that how you say abalone shells? I have some big, really shiny ones that I bought a long time ago, but I won't buy any more new ones because there is an issue with overfishing with the abalone shells or abalone shells. My friend, she had a meal with her family, and they had because abalone is, they're basically mollusks. She had a meal with her family, and she saved the little abalone shells, and she gave those away to her friends. And now me and Nicole both have one.
But isn't that? I have one now.
Yeah. And also my personal meal, I had some clams when I was up north with my mother, and I saved some of those shells. So it doesn't have to be a shell that is sold in a crystal shop or a shell that is sold particularly for, something very specific. It's whatever we have available to us. It could be from your meal. It could be from the beach, because also I have a lot of shells that I collect at the beach. And then another shell that I bought a long time ago is called a spiral heart Shiva shell. Have you seen these? It looks like it's a shell and it has a spiral in the middle of it. And it's called a Pacific cat's eye. It's a natural operculum, or a trap door of the sea snail. It's a naturally occurring shell. I have one more shell type crystal that sometimes are sold side by side with other crystals. Ammonite, and amolite. And these are fossilized remains of coiled shelled cephalopods. And they can be actual shells, and sometimes they are shiny and they look like stones. And I have those in my collection. That's what I would be drawn to for the Moon Tarot card. I would not go out and buy anything. I would use those items that I already have.
And I would just add selenite, because when I think of crystals for the moon, I think of selenite, and that is named for the Greek moon goddess Selene, selenite and Selene.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love making it work with what you have. That is my mantra. Okay, moving on to the card. Well, we've been talking about the correspondences of the card, but the symbols and the history of the symbols on the card. We're talking about the Rider-Waite-Smith card specifically, and then some of the more common symbols that are on other cards that you might see out there, listeners. And the first one I'm going to talk about are the pillars. Sometimes they're actual stone pillars. They can be trees. They can be houses. It can be a doorway or a threshold. And they signify protective barriers between the invisible and the visible, between the rational world and the dream world. It's also a threshold. A lot of times there's a path between the pillars, or like I said, you're walking through a door or you're walking between two trees. And then that would be finding the middle way between those two extremes. And a lot of times the towers, it could be a threshold and it can mean opposites. It depends on how you see the illustration on your card. But generally that's what pillars mean in this context. The wolf and the dog, or the two dogs, or the single dog. It means a lot of different things. I'm going to pick out a few. The wolf and the dog symbolize a boundary between in and out, safe and dangerous, civil and wild, known, unknown, the edge of your village, the dangerous forest. That is one symbology specifically of a dog and a wolf. Also, because animals are without ego, it's a symbol of instinct. Even the dog runs on instinct. Training and, and conditioning and domestication, but still instinct. So the dog can be taken to represent domestic civility and like also day-to-day and mundane. And then the wolf is the independent wild nature, the parts of us that are wild and untamed. Both of those strengthen us, and both of those live together. A few things to think about with the wolf and the dog. And then the crayfish, oftentimes there's a shelled crustacean, crayfish, lobster coming out of water, or just somewhere in the scene of your deck, and that is intuition. The shelled creatures represent our soul's journey and intuition. And because it's water and land, conscious and unconscious, right? Yin and yang, balance between the both, land and water. And then finally, the moon / sun. There are sun rays on that Rider-Waite-Smith deck card. A lot of other representations of this card have sun-like elements. You could even see the Rider-Waite-Smith deck as the moon is superimposed on the sun, and it's kind of like an eclipse. And some other decks have it as a eclipse on their moon cards.
It makes me think of the lunar nodes again. because the lunar nodes determine in what sign the solar and lunar eclipses happen.
Yes. And that is what we know about the light from the moon is a reflection of the sun, symbolizing reflection back to you and revealing hidden things in the dark, because the moon is reflecting the light at nighttime when things may not be visible. It's still very sun or light energy. And then there's these little flecks. They're called the little sun flecks, the little sun yods, little flecks of light. There's 15 on this card, but they're also on the Tower card and the Ace of Swords card. And those little drops, those little flecks are essentially drops of divine knowledge or light. And it's interesting that it's in the moon card when things might seem dark and hidden and mysterious, and then they're on the Tower card when things seem really challenging and really scary and really difficult. You're still getting divine information, and you're still getting showered with divine attention in those cards. Things may seem dark, but you're still being taken care of by the universe.
I told Christina this before we hit record, but a yod is also an astrological aspect, and Pam Gregory calls it the finger of God. And yod is also a Hebrew letter. If we think all the way back to Virgo season, the letter yod is associated with the Hermit card. And remember, the Hermit carries a lantern, and there's light on that card as well.
And I think you're going to touch on it in just a second, another point about the Hermit card. But I want to talk about 3 themes. Well, there's so many themes to this card. The 3 I'm pulling forward today are dreams and your relationship to them, illusion and your relationship to illusion, and reflection. Reflection. Some moon cards have a mirror in them. You get the mirror of the moon, but then you also get a legit hand mirror with the reflection of the character in the hand mirror. Reflection and your relationship with that reflection of yourself, of your hidden aspects. Because you need a mirror to see the back of your head.
Ah.
Right? Some people don't even want to see the back of their head. Like, you never mind what our hair looks like, but it can be a little unnerving.
And speaking of the Hermit, 18, this card's number, reduces to the number 9. And the Hermit is the 9th card in the major arcana. A little bit more about 18. It is said to be a powerful combination for any type of leadership and responsibility. The 1 with 8 is connected to self-empowerment and honing our intuitive ability. It also indicates that a time of mastery is approaching. The number 8 is associated with mastery. And Alana Fairchild says this mastery or resolution of an issue where we finally get a handle on something that perhaps we never imagined we could comes when we least expect it, right at the moment when everything seems to be such a mess. Suddenly, we are somehow blessed with an ability to sort it out once and for all, and we are free. So she tells a personal story in her book about how she was dealing with a particular issue and trying to heal it and resolve it. And it was just kind of like one day after 30 years of working on it, it just kind of came together. And it was like resolved. Kind of reminds me of the phases of the moon and how sometimes on our healing journey we go through many iterations to achieve fullness. There's different phases we go through to reach that full, fulfilled state. All right, so for my tarot cards, I'm going to begin with my Zodiac Tarot deck. We see on this card a waning crescent moon resting above what kind of looks like an ethereal stream of water with twinkling stars in it and the two fish of Pisces swimming, of course, in opposite directions. And each fish has a small human riding along their back dorsal fin. This card conveys a lot of ease and flow. It feels very peaceful to me. And I'm going to read something from thetempleofwitchcraft.org. How do I undo the knots with which I am bound, either by myself or by others, willingly or unwillingly? What minuscule thing can I do here in the darkness without striving that will make my personal cosmos of today better, even if it appears to be just a pebble or a rock when I wish to move mountains? Sit in the dark, beloved. Allow yourself that grace, the grace to burrow down in the quiet. Do nothing, nothing but take a breath and think slowly with great empathy and kindness towards yourself, like some giant leviathan floating on the ocean, effortless, suspended, and then another gentle nothing breath. A knot loosens, a cord comes undone. So, of course, I put this long quote with this card in particular because of the giant leviathans floating in the ocean effortlessly. Also, the 12th house, which Christina talked about earlier, I also hear this house called the house of self-undoing, where we are dismantling old programming and conditioning. We're loosening knots and letting cords come undone. Okay, so in my Medicine Woman Tarot, this card has been renamed the Grandmothers. And if we remember, the Star card was renamed the Grandfathers in this tarot deck. And the grandfather comes before the grandmothers. And so in this card, also under a waning crescent moon, a grandmotherly spirit sprinkles fairy dust onto a sleeping woman, maybe her granddaughter. And when Christina said that one of the Hebrew letters or the pathway can symbolize the divinity reaching down to humanity, that's sort of quite literally what's happening in this card. The sleeping woman is encircled in this protective bubble of blue light. There's an element of being protected while you're sleeping, but also intuitively receiving information. This also made me think of spiritual downloads when our ears ring sometimes. I hear people call that getting a download, getting some instantaneous divine information. And also, the waning crescent moon or the balsamic moon is that final phase of the lunar cycle before the new moon. And in our episode about phases of the moon, we learned that the term balsamic evokes a sense of healing, soothing, and surrender, aligning with a period of rest and reflection associated with this moon phase. And I think that's really captured in this card. There's also a lot of tranquility, I feel, looking at this card because of the light blues and purples that are used. In my Antique Anatomy Tarot, we have the backside of a skull, the back of the head, like the Hebrew letter suggests. And there's A ring of what looks like the heart organ above the head, almost like a halo, but standing upright. And then we see some purple flowers sort of growing up from kind of in front of the head, like the forehead area. Now, I instantly remembered this ring of hearts because she uses it also in her sun card. And so we talked about that during Leo season, hearts of gold.
Hmm.
And then Pisces, ruled by Neptune, is the planet of unconditional love. So it's pretty cool that the sun and the moon are sort of tied together through this theme of unconditional love, hearts of gold, and this literal ring of hearts. To me, this is about whether or not we're using our eyes, things we can see, versus things that are unseen. What is known versus unknown. Relying on our intuition and our clairs instead of our traditional five senses.
Mm-hmm. And the sun card, the Hebrew letters resh for front of the head or face. Like the sunflower has the face. So
There
yeah.
we go.
I mean, and those two cards are right next to each other in the journey. So it goes.
For sure. And the purple flowers here on this card are indicative of psychic ability, divination, intuition, spirituality, and the third eye chakra. So in Mystic Mondays, we have a figure in the foreground, kind of close to us, and off in the distance, two pillars more in the background of the card. And in the sky, we have a celestial body. It looks like a crescent moon, but it's definitely glowing. There's a lot of reflective light. So we get that sun/moon.
Do you
Just
remember
like the
when
card.
Do you remember when we did I don't mean to cut off your flow, but do you remember when we did the phases of the moon? And this just happened to me, that's why I'm thinking of it. And you look up at the moon and it's a crescent moon or a first quarter, but you can see the whole moon.
Yeah.
It's because of earth shine. In that case, the earth is reflecting light onto the moon so that you could see the whole moon because the earth is really reflective. It's another reflection back to you from the moon.
Yes.
That's why in that case, as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, earth shine.
Yeah. Perfect. Earthshine. So just like the last card I talked about from Antique Anatomy, we have the figure sitting on like an iceberg, kind of crystally looking.
Leviathan.
Yes. Perfect.
She's on a floating Leviathan.
Yes. It kind of looks like the cliff in the Fool card.
I see her as she's on an iceberg and she's moving towards, but then again, she might be on land, but I think she's in the water on a floating object.
Yeah, it definitely gives kind of like an iceberg feeling, but she is facing away from us. So again, back of the head. She's gazing towards the two pinkish colored pyramids that are in the distance. Pink represents unconditional love. So again, that's Neptune's kind of realm. And the surface of the water between our figure and the two pyramids is very still. It's very mirror-like. And again, we can see the reflection of the pyramids and we get that theme of reflecting. And because it's a waning moon, reflection is also, again, just heavily emphasized. The guidebook says, go deep and uncover your core wounds.
Mm.
And those are my moon cards.
For my card comparison, I'm starting with the Spirit Song Tarot. It's card 18. It's called the Moon. The spirit animal is the owl. Keywords are imagination and perception. Do you know what a group of owls are called?
No.
This made me so happy. They're called a parliament or a congress. And
That's
sometimes
funny.
they're called a stare of owls. But owls generally aren't together in groups. They did make a note of that when I was researching this. They're like, generally owls don't stand around in groups, but if they are, they're called a parliament or a congress. They live on all continents on the world except for Antarctica. They are so specialized. They are specialized, incredibly successful raptors. They are nocturnal birds of prey. They have sharp beaks and talons. They're known for silent flight. They have that incredible neck rotation so that they can see almost all the way around them. And do you know that their eyes are fixed inside their head? You know how you don't have to turn your head to look to the side? They have to turn their head to look to the side because their eyes are tube-shaped. That requires them to look. So their eyes are so specialized. Yeah. Their eyes are so specialized and so good, but they like it's a trade that then they don't have the ability to look while they're still. They have to turn their head. Yeah, I didn't know that. I knew that they had a very intense stare and they had like all these head motions they would do to try to make sure they saw something. And it's because they're really trying to use the motion of their head to locate what they're looking for. Okay. So owl as a spirit animal. Intuition and wisdom. Uncovering the truth that has to do with their eyesight, with their ability to turn their head in multiple directions and to see in the dark because they're nocturnal. Transition and change, that has a lot to do with sometimes how the owls are active during sunset and sunrise, or they're very active at night, making people think about the things that happen at night and the changes and the messages that could be coming. And then we get into owls as guides into the subconscious and the spiritual realm in a lot of cultures. Oh, and then I said this, as a nocturnal creature, they represent the capacity to navigate darkness and uncover hidden truths. And if an owl appears to you, pay attention to your intuition and trust your inner voice, especially if it's during a time of uncertainty, which is kind of the feeling in the moon card, is that there is some uncertainty or some hidden mysterious aspects of this card. Going back onto what the author of the Spirit Song said about the owl, imagination and perception, I wanted to say this quote that she wrote inside her guidebook. The imagination is a powerful tool. It can be used creatively or it can be used to strike terror within. Emotions will also shape the perception of any situation. Owl is here to assist you in seeing your way clearly through fear into the light of truth. For the Wild Unknown Tarot, it's Roman numeral 18, XVIII. It's called the Moon, with the keywords vivid dreams and fears. There's a waning crescent moon between two pine trees. The trees are stark white. The background is black. The moon is a yellowy orange. This card, to me, I see the pillars imagery, but also because the trees are so stark white, it makes me think of a photographic negative in which it is a representation of something true, but seen as a negative, like as a backwards color scheme.
I like it.
Yeah, so for us and looking at this card is like are you looking at the whole picture with all the information, or are you just seeing things the way that you want to see them? Do you need to gather more information?
So when the moon was a part of my cards, they were all waning crescents. This is the only card you have with a waning crescent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And those are very Pacific Northwest trees.
They're pine trees. All pine trees. In my Secrets of the Witch's Garden, it's Roman numeral 18. The card name is Moon, and the keyword is emergence. In this card, there's a lot of singular things and there's a lot of double things. The things that there are one of in this card is a giant full moon, just like right in the center top of the card. And then there's one dark-haired figure emerging from the water, and there's one pathway to the top of the mountain. There's two crayfish on either side of the figure in the water. There's two wolves on either side of the bank or the water's edge, and there's two banks to come out of the water on. There's two houses, there's two smoke stacks in the back. I love how the figure's arms are upstretched towards the moon, and so are the claws of the crayfish.
It is
and
cute.
the wolves are howling up at the moon. It is such a beautiful recognition of the moon, of the power of the moon, and of the influence of the moon, and the influence that the moon has on all the characters that are in this card. And this card is a beautiful blue hues, soft blue, with the moon's light being that pale yellow, illuminating the figures in the foreground.
The smoke is very stream-like as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's reminding me of my zodiac tarot and that sort of ethereal stream I described. So it's very water-like in its flowy quality.
Mm-hmm. And there's two streams coming out of each chimney. It's a lovely card to look at when we talk about the pillars, when we talk about the middle path, and that mountain there representing the pinnacle or your destination or your goal of attaining that goal. For the Sacred She, this is card 18, Roman numeral 18, XVIII. The card name is Anxiety. There are three howling wolves in the foreground, but they look like they're superimposed. They're not really in the scene with the figure at the cottage. That's how I see it. In the middle of the card, there is a lone figure standing in the doorway of a little cottage, and the cottage is lit so that the light is glowing out of the doorway, out of the threshold. And to me, the character could either be facing us or facing inward. It can be either way, either walking in or walking out. There is a mist and a haze all around the cottage, adding to an even more obscured, not easily visible area around the cottage. And then there's a background of more Pacific Northwest pine trees. There's a tiny little bit of glow of sunset or sunrise, and then there is that beautiful full moon and the indigo sky with just a sprinkling of stars.
The way the light comes out of the door and illuminates just a narrow pathway into the darkness in front of the cabin reminds me of the Hermit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this teeny little cabin in the woods looks like it would be comfortable for one person only because it's like a tiny house. Another hermit type
Mm-hmm.
energy.
And I see, like I said, the wolves, in my perception, aren't physically there next to the character. The wolves are the noise of our subconscious, of our anxiety.
Putting it all together, the moon card can include these meanings and interpretations. We have yin energy, receptivity, intuition and meditative states, cycles, ebbs, flows, waxings and wanings, dreams, desires, fantasies, illusions, romanticism. The subconscious, the shadow self, are depths. This is very Piscean.
Mm-hmm.
The self undoing of the 12th house, dismantling old programming and conditioning, change, phases, integration, the uncanny, abstract, or surreal, magic, mysteries, psychic abilities, clair senses. It can also be about metaphor and symbolism, spirituality, metaphysical practices, expanding our consciousness, as well as healing, soothing, surrender, rest, and, of course, reflection.
Reflection.
In reverse, shadowy murkiness, and maybe even choosing to stay in the dark.
Mm-hmm. Every character has the choice to not step through, to not emerge, to not move towards the pillars or the light or go between the trees.
Exactly. Resistance to our depths or our shadow. This could convey deception, escapism, or overwhelm. If we think about the shadow side of Pisces, we kind of get into that addiction realm. Confusion, misperceptions, mixed messages, linear thinking. That belongs more to Virgo, the sign in opposition to Pisces. Pisces is not all about that type of linear timetable, linear thinking, cause and effect. And clarity will come when the time is right. Sometimes we're meant to be in the dark. Sometimes we're meant to be in the waning moon phase.
Mm-hmm. From the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, a guidebook, the question to write the reversal is what wants to emerge through me? And to tap into that, we need to swim in the waters of the unknown and to be looking in places within ourselves that are not in the light, that are in the shadow.
And we have to be
What
open.
wants to come through. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to be open and willing to allow that and letting something emerge, letting something reveal itself to us requires stillness and
Mm-hmm.
reflection.
And reflection. Okay, before that, we go into the message from the universe. I want to go on a little tangent. Well, it's not really a tangent because it's related directly to the moon card. But this makes me think so much of how powerful our brains are, that this is such a metaphysical card because it's all about our relationship to truth and reality and how we believe certain things are true that only exist in our minds, and how hard it is not only to identify some of those things, but then to dismantle them in our mind. And that could be anything from you're not smart enough to do that to you don't deserve to be happy. like, and like more than that and everything in between and all the little things and all the big things that when we talked about that podcast last year about affirmations and self-sabotage, now this card to me is the card that tells us to pause and reflect and to look at those things that we believe that aren't true. They're not true. We made them up.
Yeah, or they were taught to us and we kept them.
And it's not true. And you know who's going to help us break down those? The goddesses. Our Rider-Waite-Smith deck came from one tradition, and there's lots of other traditions out there, listeners, that you guys probably already know because you have your own decks and your own research. But there's some decks that were contemporaries, which means contemporary means they're around at the same time. Am I using that word right?
Yes.
And they had completely different moon cards. They were tied to the moon goddesses. There were Diana cards or Artemis with the bow with the crescent moon and hunting dogs. There was Hecate, the goddess of thresholds and pillars and dogs. And I never heard of this muse of astronomy, Urania, who carries a globe and a compass. And some moon cards have echoes of some or all of those imageries tied to those moon goddesses.
That's so cool.
Okay. For the message from the universe, I have the Solitary Witch Oracle deck by Lucy Cavendish. I have 2 cards, one for each pillar.
Ooh, okay. What about one for each Piscean fish?
One for each fish. Well, that's the thing with the pillars and the fish and the opposite. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of 2 and like duality in this card. Okay, so 1 or 2 or left or right or up or down or in or out, whatever. The first card is 19, the Gathering. There are nights when she knows that the call of her soul sisters is strong. These times often fall on the 8 great festivals. She feels the unmistakable comfort of long friendships, the familiar feel of hand in hand, and the surge of power as their trust in each other meets once again. There are steps they have danced before, and while some of the sisters and her dear friends, some may be new, and there is joy in the meeting of them. So, although she is solitary and adores her freedom, there are times when she feels the pull of collective spirit, and she catches hold of the great joy of the gathering. After the ritual, they will feast. There will be laughter, and most likely some tears, as they share mooncakes and mead steeped with honey and fine herbs. Every sense will be stimulated in the pleasure of the companionship of this magical gathering. Chills down the spine, new bonds forged, old memories reawakened, precious new memories formed. She will hear the stories of their lives, their covens, their communities, their families, and she will share in their joy. She is one of them, and she knows that just as she is ever welcome, she is also free to stay within her world. Something magical happens amidst these old friends. Each time they meet, there is a tenderness and an understanding that is a rare treasure to the world. That is 19, the Gathering. Okay, second card is card 2, her herb garden. She sees the results of many years of quiet work. Some said this was an impossible garden, the wrong soil, too much wind, not enough water. Nothing much could grow here, so they said. But she persisted and nurtured and tended and cared. And over time, these elements were woven into a place that could support the green life she longed for. Here, there are herbs to burn for clearing a home of energy that stills its life force. There are herbs that bring peace at night and deep, sweet sleep. Between these, There grow herbs to ease sore throats, to brighten the eyes, to soften the skin, to bring about desire, to make love last, to protect a sailor when storms come, and to help a traveler return safely home. She has grown all of these, crooned them under moonlight as though to children who need love and guidance to grow strong and well. And now she sees what she has created and plans for the first harvest and the many potions and teas and smoking bundles and hair washes she will create. But first, a moment to thank the Great Mother for giving her the foresight to grow nearly all she needs. The abundance that is the earth's gifts, her strength, and a true sense of being able to care for herself and how to help the world grow through her gentle hands, broken-nailed, coarse, and full of power. What good messages.
Mm-hmm. And the second card that you read, that first sentence, reminded me of when we were talking about the number 18 and kind of going through our healing phases, and sometimes it's iterative. And then one day we wake up and all the work we've been doing comes together.
Yeah. And that story is about literal herbs, but we're also planting the seeds of our dreams and the future that we want. And when we work on growing what we don't want falls away. It gets crowded out by the blossoms and the plants of our self-love and our confidence and our will and our intentions and manifestations. So that's the solitary witch.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the Moon Tarot card. And next week, as we continue flowing and reflecting through Pisces season, will be the 8, the 9, and the 10 of Cups.
Mm-hmm.
So until then, listeners, thank you. We love you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.